like butter. What's going on, guys? I'm back here today, finally, after months and months and months of waiting, which all good things come to those who wait, finally got in my Black Ops Defense build, MP5-N. All right, guys, so finally in hand, I got my MP5-N. So if you remember way back, probably in this early spring, I did a Black Ops tour of their facility and their 90 series roller lock guns and how they made them, all their steps, well, everything that they do about those. So finally, my build that I had them do is finished here, ready to go. So we're gonna go over this thing, the options that it had, what I chose to do to it, and the pieces that I did to it after the fact, to make it my own little MP5 build. You know, I like the MP5, so I had to do a custom, had to do it the way I wanted to do it. So let's get into it. First, this is a German parts kit build. So the benefit going to a German parts kit versus an American made parts kit is the German parts kit usually come with all of the stuff that you need if you want it full auto ready. So it comes with the full auto carrier and all those things. The thing you need to get obviously is a receiver because the receiver is demilled. So that's what's new on the gun is the receiver. Everything else is part of that kit's build. So as Grand Thumb will say, we're gonna go tip the butt on this thing and start at the barrel. So this is the barrel that was in the kit. This is a barrel that does not have the threaded portion. So it is only the tri-lug. So it's more of that, I don't say older style, but it just doesn't have what a lot of people are used to with the threaded option, which for me, I don't mind it because anytime I'm running an MP5 anyway, I'm running a can, I'm running the QD 3-lug adapter anyway. So the threads sometimes get in the way because they like to loosen up, you gotta take them off, you gotta Loctite them on. It's just, it can be a pain if you don't wanna use the 3-lug. So use a 3-lug, you're good to go. What this kit also had was what they call an F-barrel ambi sling attachment. So you'll know that on most MP5s you've probably seen, you have on the front sight tower, right here, you have the protrusion with the little eyelet for the sling. So at some point in the life cycle of the MP5, they upgraded that to this ambi side for, you know, lefties. It mounts a little lower on the bottom, just gives you a different option there. So that was a cool little touch. I actually didn't know that that was gonna be there until I got it. Moving on back, I put on the MP5-N and vertical grip. So I supplied a lot of parts to this build. Keeps costs down, and since I have a bunch of parts I've just collected over time, it's just easy to do that. And I wanted to do a B&T build for an MP5, so this one is gonna be a B&T, pretty much all B&T setup. Moving back from there, because this was a machine gun at one point in its life, and it still can be a machine gun now if I have a sear pack, this is full auto ready. As I said, it does have the full auto bolt carrier. I had it marked as an MP5-N because it is Navy. I did the Navy setup and it's an MP5 and it was at one time a real HK kit, real HK MP5. So I had it marked HK MP5-N to give it that authenticity, right? So this is an MP5. This is an MP5 build. It's full auto ready. Everything about it is MP5. Almost everything about it is German made. So it made sense. It made sense to do an MP5 marked gun. On this side of the firearm, I did have it marked in the old school HK marking. So you'll see it says made in Germany, HK, the classic non-white filled markings, same as the HK style markings on the top. That old school German MP5 feel, that's what I was going for on this build since it was, again, authentic. So I'm moving on back from there. Of course, as I mentioned, the lower trigger group is the Ambi Navy group. I already had one of these, so I just supplied it for the parts. Then moving on back to the rear piece, put on the B&T retractable stock. So because it's B&T build, B&T stock went on. What I have yet to do is figure out what I'm gonna do for an Optic. I could run this irons, but with this stock, it's a very small butt pad here. So you don't get a whole lot of real estate on your shoulder. So even if you're down, you gotta come down real low to get that sight picture on the irons. Not a huge deal. It's just not as comfortable as the f-stock that I have on my SP5. It's a little longer, it's a little fatter, you just get a little more contact there, and I just feel a little more confident in that bigger butt pad than this smaller one, which I understand why smaller ones, can be beneficial, but playing around with it. So I'm not sure what I'm gonna do. I think my thought process is I'm gonna put a higher pick rail mount on here with a higher set optic so that I can drop it a little lower in my shoulder and not have to bring my head down as far to see through that optic, because if I come up too high here, I really don't have any good solid platform to throw that stock. So I want it down here and be able to just bring my head down a little bit and still get in line of sight for like a red dot sight. Just gotta figure out what mount I wanna go with and what optic I wanna go with. So really guys, the last thing to talk about on this is just sort of the overall fit and finish and feel of the gun. So what you hope to get from a custom build and say a one-off build, somebody that takes the time and builds these things from scratch or from a parts kit, is the attention to detail and how the fit and finish is on a piece you've paid more than likely more for than you would for something off the shelf, right? So I have no complaints with how this thing turned out. All the markings, everything is done to spec, very true to HK feel. The coating on it, the feel of this thing is very good. I mean, it looks really nice. Everything is evenly coated. The welds look good. Everything about it looks very professional. I just love the way it turned out, and these are the benefits you get from a custom build versus something you might find off the shelf for much less. So you have those compromises that you have to make if you're only gonna pay, say, $1,000, $1,200 for something versus, $2+ or $3+, depending on what options you get and what you wanna do. So in ways, especially in the HK world, you get what you pay for. All right, guys, that pretty much wraps up this video on the Black Ops Defense build, B&T loadout. Overall, man, I think you just can't miss with an MP5 roller lock gun. So, I'm not saying this shoots smoother than any other MP5 I own because they're all the same, but this one just does feel really nice. Everything about it, man, like I said, I like the personal sort of touches that you can do with a custom build. You can get the markings that you want. You can kind of choose, which way you want to go. If you want to do, certain reverse stretches or K builds or whatever, you can build something that you want when you go custom. Even though this is more or less just a standard MP5-N, I just like that it's marked the way I want it marked. It's got, German parts, so it's a full auto carrier and stuff. It's full auto ready if I want it to be. All the things, man. It's just probably, one of the coolest ones I own because of that. This and the actual SP5 that I have, these are two, German guns, and this one is full auto ready. So again, I recommend Black Ops if you want to go this route. I've had no issues with this thing. I've been running it for a little bit now. Not too long, it's been a couple weeks before I made this video, and everything about it just works. It's great. So all right, guys, don't forget Steve MP5 on the Instagrams. I'll see you next time.